Zachary Nash
Hey guys, welcome to Morning Breakfast with Eggs and Bacon, where your favorite analyst, Eggs and Bacon, gives his opinion on the hot topics of the BML. What's up, Eggs?
Yo, what's up, Ben? I'm happy to be back for another cycle and can't wait to get into it.
Listen, so we're going to go right into it and talk about the first segment is the best teams. Who do you got as the best teams?
I would say the best teams are the Browns, Ravens, Bears, and the Buccaneers because the past 5 weeks they've been playing very well and, you know, they look like they can really carry it through the whole season and into the postseason.
All right, well, you know what? Are you basing that on the record alone? Because the Bengals are undefeated, but you didn't give any mention.
I'm not basing off record alone. I mean, I would say a lot of these people are playing above their heads right now, and I think that they're going to fall dramatically. And I don't think that they're going to be able to keep it up the whole season, but the teams that I named, I think, will be able to keep it up the entire season.
So what teams do you see that are on the rise, that not necessarily you mentioned just now, but you can give me trouble for the top of the guys like, Batman and the Buccaneers and whatnot?
I would say the Cowboys could definitely give some trouble. I mean, the Titans have played very well. The only loss that he has is against Batman. I'm pretty sure that that was a close game, so those two teams could really knock out one of the top players.
Okay, nice. So we got those out of the way. Now let's get into another segment we like to call Money Watch, where we watch the salaries and see where guys are going when they drop players, when they make trades, and things like that. Now, in this week's Money Watch, who do you have your eye on?
I would say the Vikings. I mean, my man cut for Kirk Cousins. That's a big cap hit. I mean, I know that he worked something out with Chris Murray, but I am shocked that he was able to take the cap hit and hasn't dropped his players yet.
But wait a second now. Did he take a loan?
I think what Chris Murray said was something like I don't really know, dude. They made up some bullshit and got away with it.
All right. So he drops Kirk Cousins. What was that penalty? Do you know exactly? Because that was guaranteed money, wasn't it?
God, yeah, I have no idea what the penalty was. I know it was huge, like 30, 20, something like that.
All right,
20 to 30 range. You
drop Kirk Cousins, and then you're left with 350 overall quarterbacks? I mean, who does that?
Well, I would say the playoff boys. You know, they are the brightest of minds in the world, and I would just love to be like the playoff boys. I really would.
Okay, so obviously he went with scramblers like a Nick Fitzgerald. I didn't even know he existed. But he's a rookie. He has 84 speed, 88 acceleration. But in a league with rules like this where scrambling quarterbacks are usually used for options or when under pressure or on the bootlegs, I mean, how much does this 50 overall quarterback can do for them when you drop Kirk Cousins like that?
Oh, man, I would say so much. I mean, he could win MVP this year. But let's be serious, all right? He's not going to do anything. They're going to go 0-16, but what's great, or I think he's got 2 wins already, so he's going to go winless with the new QB, and now he can blame it on his quarterback.
Which is his fault in the first place for dropping Kirk Cousins. Now, Kirk Cousins on the waiver wire. Who do you think is going to be picking up Kirk Cousins?
I really have no idea. I mean, Kirk Cousins is an average QB, so I would look for an average team to maybe pick him up. I would say maybe you and your Dolphins could go get him because Josh Rosen is okay. I mean, he's not that great. He's not really QB of the future, and Kirk Cousins can help you get through this year and maybe another if you like him.
I've contemplated about signing if I get to the waiver wire, but I still have a bunch of teams to go through. I mean, the Steelers. See if he goes with, he has Big Ben. You have Tom Brady, who's going to retire. They could be using another quarterback. The Broncos, they need a quarterback. The Cardinals, they don't need a quarterback. The Lions, they have a quarterback, but Kirk Cousins is a little younger. The Rams already has their quarterback. The Raiders already have their quarterback. The Rams have a quarterback, and the Raiders have a quarterback. I mean, there's are a couple teams that I have to go through before I even get to select him. But he is a good quarterback to get you some wins.
Yes, he is a very good quarterback. I mean, he's an average QB. He's not going to win you any games per se, but he's not going to really lose you any games. He can keep you in every game if you're able to play well with him.
Well, we have a big decision. If we get that chance, we have a big decision to make because do I stick with Josh Rosen because he's 22 and go through the pains of maybe 1 in 15 for the year, and then maybe he'll be a good quarterback, 80-something overall next year. I mean, he does have superstar development, but we'll see when that comes from. Now, keeping on the subject of Money Watch, any other teams that you're watching when it comes to the salary?
I would say, I mean, not per se right now. I would say I'm worried about the salary, but the Chiefs are definitely a team that will be on the watch for years to come because Patty Mahomes and the money that he wants is just ridiculous. 75 mil for 1 year, I mean, that is just crazy. And I don't know how you could pay anybody that kind of money.
That's future Hall of Famer Pat Mahomes, okay? He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. He's already scored 50 touchdowns in one season, and he hasn't even really touched the surface of what he can do in his first starting year. Now, the ones I see, there's a couple teams that are in the low cap space. The Titans are one of them. Also, the Browns are in the cap space where only 11 mil because they have all the big talent. I mean, Batman's pretty good with it. And then you also have the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have 4.7 cap space available. What do you think of that? Do you think, I mean, it's a slippery slope, man.
Yeah, it really is, but what's good about the Titans is they don't have any big names. I mean, what, Marcus Mariota? Really? That's the big name? That's nothing. And what's good is, you know, Mariota's going to want some money, but it's not going to be crazy. And with the Bucks, yeah, they got Jameis Winston, who is a confident quarterback, I would say. I mean, he's not very great. I mean, in the right system, he could be pretty good. But besides him, you know, that Buccaneers team doesn't really have anybody that wows you, that you say, oh, God, I got to pay him a couple years.
Now, let's move on to our next segment, Road to MVP. That's where we discuss who has the best chances, quarterback, wide receiver, linebacker, to make MVP of the first season here in the BML. Who do you got your eye on, Eggs?
I mean, I know I sound a little biased, but Lamar Jackson, I mean, top 10 in rushing and leading the league in passing, that's just ridiculous. That's unheard of. I don't think I've ever heard of a QB ever doing something of the sort this far into the season, and I really think if he can keep it up, I mean, he's going to run away with the MVP.
All right, well, back in, next to his tail is Baker Mayfield. Almost the same amount of touchdowns, maybe not the rushing, but usually these Maddens are all about the throwing touchdowns versus the rushing. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I would definitely agree with that, but sometimes I would say they actually lean towards the rushing because I've seen people that lead the league in rushing and have a lot of rushing touchdowns and all-purpose yards, per se, that can win it over the QB.
But you also have to remind yourself that running backs usually, I know QB versus running back, but if the running back has a better season, more touchdowns, usually they get them. And you have Zeke Elliott and Cook and Ingram as well. I mean, you have even Ingram in there as the top 3 rushers. And as well as the wide receivers, don't forget about them. When they get big touchdowns, I mean, Odell already has 14 touchdowns and 28 receptions. 14 touchdowns in what, week 5? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. I mean, that's half his receptions or touchdowns, which is crazy. And, I mean, he is outperforming every other receiver. But Hollywood Brown is on his, tail. And with Lamar Jackson, who's looking to win the MVP, I'd be looking to see if Hollywood Brown can finish above him at the end of the year.
This is going to be a crazy race. It's going to be a quarterback that has 50 touchdowns versus another quarterback that has 49 versus a wide receiver that has maybe 30 touchdowns. I mean, it's week 5. Odell Beckham is on pace to what? Hit almost 40 touchdowns? What is that?
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy, who could win it this week could not win it the next week. It's really, a toss-up, I would say.
Okay, any defenders? I mean, when it comes to this year's Madden, there is a lot of dang sacks, and I'm not even lying. I mean, look at Joey Bosa. Already week 5 has 10 sacks, and I know this for sure because he got 5 of them on my team. Because there's some offensive lines that are completely horrible. Can you see one winning because of all the sacks?
I don't know if I would see any of these defenders, winning the MVP per se, but that's because the offensive guys are just putting up crazy numbers, like ridiculous numbers, and it's really hard as a defensive player to try and compete with that.
Now, what is the reason why all these high numbers? Do you have any thought about why these offensive numbers are just blown up? I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been high-powered offense, but this is ridiculous. 14 touchdowns for one receiver?
Yeah, I mean, it is really crazy. I would say it's early in the Madden cycle, and people really aren't adjusted to the defense yet. They're used to getting bailed out with the, 60 feet up in the air, picking the ball, and that's not how it is anymore. And you really got to focus on the corners, and you really got to pay attention on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay, fair enough. Now, let's move on to the next segment, where a player is on the rise. Who's on the rise for you?
I would say a player that's really on the rise is Hollywood Brown. I know.
Oh, man, this segment is not about the Ravens, This segment's about the BML in the league.
Yeah, you're right, I know, but I mean, he really is on the rise. Of course, Odell's also on the rise. He's killing it this year. Tyreek Hill, 15 receptions for 409 yards, 27 yards per reception. That's crazy. But when you have Patty Mahomes throwing you the ball, that usually helps. And what sucks is Patty Mahomes is having a not great year so far. He's down there in the passing numbers, and I was shocked. I was really thinking that he would make a run for his money. He would make a run for the MVP trophy this year because of how high overall he is and how many weapons he has into there.
All right, for my player on the rise, I would say it's going to be the Cardinals receiver, Andy Isabella. He already has more than Brandon Cook. He's up there with the top when it comes to yardage. He only has 1 touchdown, but he gets a lot of targets, and this looks like this rookie is going to be on the rise, especially when you don't have many receivers to throw to. And Isabella is a speedster. I see good things coming from him if the Cardinals can continue using him. But the problem is when it comes to being the number 1 receiver and you don't have a backup, people put their defense on them, especially against speedsters. But he's definitely on the rise for the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, he definitely is. That's a great pick, I gotta say. I really like Isabella. He's so fast, and he's a really good player. And the Cardinals user, underrated, is a pretty good user. I know, he doesn't try and win, might say he does, but once we get to the high-stakes season, he's going to have Isabella very good, and they're going to be winning.
All right, so let's get to our last segment of the show. The last segment of the show is called The Rotten Egg. This is where you pick eggs, the guy with either the worst skills or thinks he has the best skills, but really isn't as great as he says he is. Who's your rotten egg for this show?
I would say my rotten egg is the Vikings. He thinks he's all that. He cuts Kirk Cousins. He's probably thinking, it's Kirk Cousins' fault that I just lost. Well, my man, it's not. It's not. It's really not. You can't blame a QB for losing, and that's just pitiful. The fact that he cut him is just sad. And I know, he's probably thinking, playoff boys, how about no playoffs for the whole cycle?
That's what your prediction is? Oh, that's a good rotten egg. Now, I have to agree with you with cutting Kirk Cousins, because with the 50 overall quarterback, this is not the Madden cycle that you want to try to pull that off. Because I've had Josh Rosen, and even staying in the pocket with no pressure, he is inaccurate. I can only imagine what a 59 overall would do when the clean pocket or even under pressure when it says, oh my quarterback messed up for me. Well, you had a quarterback that could deliver, and it didn't want him. So, Can't cry over spilled milk when you're the one that spilled the milk. Any last comments for you?
That's a great catchphrase, I gotta say. I really love that. And, I'm interested to see what the Vikings can do for the rest of the season. And, well, I know he's not going to do shit, but that's beside the point.
No problem. All right, guys. This has been Morning Breakfast with Eggs and Bacon, with your favorite analyst gives his opinion on your favorite topics. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. We'll do it on the next show. And also on the next show, we're going to talk about rookies or players on the rise. But this time, we're going to be talking about which ones can develop the X Factor sooner than others. I'm Demi Goyle.
I'm Eggs.
And until next time, we out.